if you are a woman who's thinking about getting pregnant, a woman who is pregnant, or you are someone who has ever carried any number of babies in your uterus, you are going to want to lean in. Today, we have a leading expert in sex therapy sharing secrets about the difference between desire and arousal. And you will learn practical tips on how to get the most out of your sex life today. So the Painless Pregnancy Podcast welcomes Rachel Smith.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It's absolutely an honor.
Thank you for coming.
Yes.
I'm super excited. We have such fabulous synergy with our roles in serving this population.
Oh, it's so important.
Yeah. So I'd love it if you could introduce yourself and kind of give the background of who you are and what you do.
Perfect. So my name is Rachel Smith. I'm the founder of Infinite Intimacy, where I help couples and women find a deeper, more magnetic and fulfilling connection with themselves and their partners. So I'm actually a licensed marriage and family therapist with a certification in sex therapy, and I'm also an intimacy coach. So I just love working with women. I love working with couples to really just help them find that vibrancy and that connection, right? I think when people hear the word intimacy, they equate it to one thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Penetrative intercourse, right?
Exactly. So if we hear the word intimacy and we equate that with sex, and if we hear the word sex and we equate that with penetration and intercourse, right? Then that only gives us one way to be intimate, right? And so that really pigeonholes us, and it kind of locks us in and really creates this tension-filled space between couples, because it's like we're putting all of our eggs in one basket, right? So then the relationship becomes very fragile at that point.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yes, I can see that leading to fragility.
Yes.
Because truly, if you're not successful in that one category, you're broken.
Exactly. Yeah. And let's not even talk about the orgasm, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yes. Unless you're joking with your girlfriends about how it doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you can talk about it. Anything outside of that, people will think like, we don't actually say that out loud.
Right. Exactly. And then we think if we're not having an orgasm, there's something wrong with us, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So all of these just... the misinformation, the lack of education, it really just puts women, especially in a space where we're feeling broken. We're feeling like there's something wrong with us. And especially when their partners are maybe wanting sex or intimacy a little bit more, but then moms, young moms, new moms, just, they're so touched out and don't even want their partners to touch them. And there's so much that goes into it. So I'm so excited we're going to dive into this today.
Yes.
But Dr. Kat, please. Can you share a little bit about your specialty? Because this synergy is so real.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yep. So I am a doctor of physical therapy, and my team and I, we specialize in pregnant and postpartum women. So we frequently encounter not only your pregnancy pain, discomforts, difficulty walking, peeing your pants, or passing gas or poop when you don't want to.
Right.
But this category of sexual dysfunction is massive for our population.
Yes.
So,
and we're not talking about it.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We have it on our intake form. So when you become a patient with us, we inquire about it, whether you report it or not.
Good.
And even still, Rachel, I find that some women will almost hold on to that for a few sessions. They're even more okay with saying, I pee my pants when I sneeze, versus I really used to have wonderful orgasms and now I don't. So we do a couple sessions, work on the pelvic floor, and then they might be like, ask me for a friend. I also heard that orgasms can be less pleasurable postpartum.
Right.
And I'm like, yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Like, we can talk about that.
Right. Exactly.
So maybe if I could lay out from the physical point of view, the components that we can coach our moms on.
Yes.
And then I'd love for you to complement that.
Absolutely.
Because for me, as a physical therapist, I am able to understand what the structures themselves do. And when I educate women on that, and I can, again, like coach them through some strategies that from a physical standpoint will typically result in physical arousal.
Yes.
They feel empowered and they're like, okay, yeah, I can do that.
Perfect.
There's definitely still like this missing component.
Yes.
Or it's, the relationship is absolutely interwoven into that intimacy, right? Like it is an expression of the relationship.
Yeah.
So for us as physical therapists, When a woman says, say she's postpartum, whether it's a vaginal delivery or a C-section, and she reports pain with intercourse, our first step is to stratify this and say, okay, does it hurt with penetration or with deep thrusting? Because we know before successful penetration can occur, the vaginal space has to go through a few physical changes.
Yep.
So we're coaching her on one time, giving yourself time, and I usually use the phrase making out, because that's what we called it back in 6th grade.
Sure, yeah.
Make sure you have enough time to make out with your partner,
Yes.
fool around,
Yes.
and they'll be like, I'm sorry, I'm married.
Right.
I don't know if you know,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
married with kids,
Don't
you
have
don't
time.
typically make out. You
Nope.
typically are just
Yeah.
like, okay, we have 5 minutes, go.
Let's go. Yeah.
So I'll say, great, because that adds to the recipe of having painful or unsuccessful intercourse. So, all right, let me encourage you to have playtime.
Yep.
Ideally for the female body, we want to hit that 20-minute mark.
Yes.
And you should notice a few changes.
Yes.
One, your vulvar space. So
Yes. Let's see it.
let's take her out.
Yes.
So these tissues of your vulva, which by the way, they can look any way. There's no like correct outer lips are bigger than the inner lips. There's just, it can look however it's going to look.
Yeah. Every vulva is created beautifully and uniquely and divinely beautiful and different, just like a penis. Every
Absolutely.
penis looks different.
Yeah.
Every vulva looks different.
And just like our faces.
Yeah.
Like there's no same
Yeah, and just like
face.
our faces, maybe one eye is a little bit smaller than the other, right?
Yeah.
One lip might be a little bit,
Yes.
it doesn't have to be perfectly proportioned.
It's
not
so
like
true.
what you see on the screens.
It's so true. Yeah. Full permission that
Yeah,
your vulva
yeah.
can look however it looks. Yes. So we tell them that once they've been playing around with their partner intimately for about
Revved up.
20 minutes,
Yep.
yeah, they should see that these tissues are more swollen.
Yes.
This also might appear that the hole or the space of the vaginal opening is more visible. So you could even see that the lips are parting. You'll notice self-lubrication. So you should have fluid or you should be wet in that area.
Sure.
The other thing that happens is that vaginal tenting. So the tube of the vagina, the birth canal, it goes from this flat tube to an erect, heck yeah, look at us.
This is my vulva.
Yeah, I love your
So
stuffy here.
You're saying that this comes up,
Yes.
right?
Uh-huh.
So if this is the vulva, if we can just,
Yeah.
for
Love it.
language, right? So the vulva is everything that we can see.
Yeah.
Right? The problem with referring to everything down there as the vagina is that we are literally disregarding our pleasure center, which is our clitoris,
Yeah,
right? And our
absolutely.
clitoris has 10,000 nerve endings. It is the only sexual organ that's not made for reproduction. It is purely there for our pleasure.
Yeah.
Right. And so we need to pay attention to that. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But when we refer to the vagina, we're referring to the vaginal canal. So
Yes.
this is so this vaginal canal then wraps around
Mm-hmm.
the
Yes.
clitoris.
Yes. Yes. That is the
Yes.
internal clitoris. I didn't even learn about that as a pelvic floor therapist until maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Yep.
Wild.
Well, it was found in the late 90s and first published in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So the reality is pleasure for women hasn't been a point of focus or even really
Right.
cared about until women started stepping into research. So
Right.
this is why these conversations are so important, because we're here to help you tap into your pleasure because you are so deserving of it, and we wouldn't have a full structure
Right.
meant
Yes.
for it if this wasn't as important as what it needs to be. So I'm so excited.